Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back to our latest episode of Projects with Foster. As you can see, we're back in the stairwell, but this time it's good. We're almost done. By the end of this, it's going to look so much better. If you didn't check out our last video, be sure you do. We went on the road, our first one on the road, to go see Mr. Connolly and build a window. So make sure you check that out. Please keep your pictures and projects coming. Tell me what you've been doing. I see Connor is refinishing a water ski. Ian's doing a remodel. And Madeline is building the whole tree house. I love it. Keep that kind of stuff up. If you need ideas, let me know. Keep sending me pictures. Before we get started, I got to real quickly, if you remember back in the first couple episodes, I mentioned Mariners pitcher Kazuhiro Sasaki, and I may have suggested that when he injured himself, it wasn't from a stairwell. Well, I would like to say, first of all, my apologies to Mr. Sasaki and his excellent legal team, as well as the Seattle Mariners, Major League Baseball, Japanese Nippon League, the Yokohama Taiyo Whales, and the Tacoma Rainiers. So if I ever meant to imply that perhaps Kazu wasn't honest in what had happened, please understand that I apologize for that. Well, we left off, we were sanding. We got all the old finish off. I ended up using the belt sander a little bit. Kind of a pain with all these little squares. Probably would have been better to have the little vibrating block sanders rather than the random orbit, but we got it now. In the very end, one of the things I didn't show you was raising the grain like we do with projects in class. Taking a damp cloth at the end, wiping it down, and then when the grain comes up, sanding it down again. I got it down to 220 grit, so it's nice and smooth, and we're going to put on our finish on the stairs. Reason being, we want some protection. Just like paint, we want something on our floor that's going to protect it, and especially right here with all the traffic that goes up and down here, we really want to make sure we put something on there. Plus it's going to look nice. We're hoping to bring out some of the grain, some of the color of that. So let's talk real quick about all of this stuff. My background is in varnish, so wooden boats. Usually we use varnish outside. Main thing is it's got a lot of UV protection. This is something called spar varnish, which is spar is the poles on a boat, the mast and the boom. And I always thought it was spar varnish because those things are always outside and they need a lot of UV protection, but it actually turns out spar varnish means it has a little bit of flexibility. So when that boom, if you remember the boom on the Zodiac, big giant log, when that flexes, which it does, the varnish isn't hard, it won't crack. So I learned something about that. The other thing I have here that I want to show you real quick is wood stain. So stain is different than varnish. Stain doesn't really do much to protect the wood, it really just colors. So if you look at this piece here, it's a little piece of cherry. I stained that yesterday with some of this Jacobian. It's not a look I always like. I'm not a big fan of staining unless it's something you're trying to blend, something you're trying to match, like we did replaced a window, tried to get the different pieces of trim to match up. We stained them all about the same. You can use it for other things, put a little on, sand it off, but we're not using any stain today. What we are going to use is polyurethane. So varnish is wonderful stuff, but I don't really need UV protection in here. What I really need is good wear protection and something that'll bring out the color. And polyurethane does that really well. It puts a nice, almost like a plastic coating, a very hard coating on top. Two different styles. One is the water-based. It goes on milky, which looks weird, but it's kind of nice at first because then you can see how it's going on and how your brush strokes are doing. Dries very fast and doesn't smell as much as the oil-based, but not probably as hard a finish as the oil-based. So we're going to use the oil-based for this one. This I've used furniture, other things like that you want a nice cover to. The other thing is they come in different glossiness. This is a matte. I'm going to use semi-gloss on the floor. A regular gloss has the most protection. and then a matte is a little bit softer to the touch. But for what I want, we want to do a semi-gloss here. So I've got my brush. I've got a good bristle brush here that I'm going to use. I've got my gloves. I'm going to make sure I got really good ventilation. That's a big thing. This stuff can be pretty hard on you. So we're going to get the ventilation going. I'm going to grab my my little pail of varnish that I've already started, and I'll show you here what it's going to look like, and then next time around we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Go ahead and go around the corner there, Helena. Grab my lines right here. So this is thinned a little bit. I put some mineral spirits in there for the first coat. The first coat is kind of a sealer. So it's going to go on and seal up the wood really well so that in the end nothing can hurt it, whether that's moisture or all of the traffic. The worst thing is really the animals. If you got big dogs, they go up and down your stairs all the time. Those nails just tear it apart. We love them, but they're really hard on wood floors. So here we are. We're up here. We're going to start. Two different things we got to worry about. One is that we're doing vertical. The other is horizontal. So first, the vertical, you always got to watch for runs. You don't want runs. So I'm going to take my brush. Get a little on the end there. Never stir up do stir your paint. Don't shake your paint. Or your varnish, excuse me. When you go to the store and they put your paint in the big shaker, don't do that with this, only stir. So what you want to do is long strokes. So I'm going to start here. You're going to go all the way across. Don't try to do too big an area. One long stroke the whole way. Every time I stop and do this, I'm going to put more little marks on it. So I got to get my technique down, get it started, and then overlap that piece that you did before, and make sure you get all the way to the corners. You can see how beautiful that is. That wood comes out. There's some really interesting wood that they used on my stairwell here, and it's going to be really fun when you do this. Like I say, the first parts of these jobs aren't much fun. This is when it starts to look really nice, and you can start to see some of the colors, some of the grain, some of the richness of this oak come out, and that's what we want. That's really what we're after. It had kind of lost some of that over the years, and the varnish got harder and darker, and it really didn't look very good. So I'm hoping in the end. Now, one more thing about technique. You're getting these long strokes all the way along. What you want to do is get a good light and look at it. You're looking for runs, and you're looking for little bubbles. A lot of times you'll get these little tiny bubbles that form on the surface. And what you got to come back and do is called tipping it out. And, a little too much there. So now, not quite happening here, but if I had these bubbles forming, what I do is I take my brush and I just bring it over, and it's really just the weight of the brush. I'm just gliding at a top, and it just sort of pops those bubbles so that they will not dry and give you a bumpy surface. So that's about where we are. We're going to do this, going to let it sit up for at least 4, 5, 6 hours, maybe more. Try not to touch it. One way to do this, if you're doing stairs, is to do one and then skip one and do the next and do the other. I'm just going to shut off the whole thing for the day, and we're going to be okay with that. Next week, we're going to finish. We'll get these finished. We'll get the stairs at the bottom finished. Helena's is going to show us how to do some nice patina in our copper for our kicks. And then we'll go outside and we'll do that as well. Keep up the good work. I hope you got a project going. If you don't, let me know. I'll give you one, and send me pictures. Put yourself in one of them so I know who's doing it. And stay safe, stay inside, get busy, and good luck. For now, we're out.